Hello, Venus Angels! I am back with a surprise second episode of the month. I managed to do this during Aries season, and now Cancer season. I've done it again. Maybe I have more energy during cardinal signs. Maybe they give me more initiative. Who knows? But today, I wanted to talk about getting back into the creative world and some epiphanies I found when getting back into very old projects and how I motivate myself to quote-unquote finish them. So let's begin. So first off, if I sound kind of nasally, it's because I definitely got sick. Everyone's been getting kind of sick these days, but it's okay. I'm doing a lot better now. Okay, now let's really begin. The past 2 weeks, I had an interest in getting back into writing a novel I had started about 7 or 8 years ago. It was one of the coolest ideas I've had as a story, in my opinion, and I actually made it into a little weird show series thing that I created and posted on YouTube a long time ago. But it was so bad and so not the vision I was going for that I ended up deleting everything that I filmed. I just couldn't stand to see my story become a mockery. It was supposed to be a very serious topic on death and the afterlife. It was fiction, but the story was dedicated to family members that have passed away in my family. And it had a lot of depth, and I even had to water down the dialogue, the script, and it was just so bad that I felt the only way it didn't come off so amateurish would be to make it into a comedy. When in doubt, make it into a comedy, make it humorous. And I thought I'd be okay with that, but I was not, so ultimately it barely saw the light of day. But now that I'm kind of healing from that trauma, I decided to step back into this concept, into this story, and try it again. I originally was trying to create a novel. Very dark academia, a bit of Tim Burton vibes to it, some humor here and there, but not like the overall general sense. Some Frankenstein literature, just things that inspire me that are spooky, the vibes. And for the past 2 weeks, I had been putting pen to paper and trying to get something moving, something done, but I've been kind of stuck and it's almost starting to feel like homework. And so I thought, well, that's odd. That's weird. Why does it feel so much harder now? So I decided to take some space from it for a bit and work on some other things, just in the meantime, Maybe I just need to shake up the juices, shake up the art flow just a little bit. It's been a minute. I've been a little stale, it's kind of dry. So let me just put it to the side for a little bit and work on some other things. And so I did. And I actually ended up making a full, entire, composed and everything song. A twist, I know. Stay with me though. I wrote words, I played my piano, and I did it. I actually full on did it. I created something. It wasn't the novel, but I created something. And I thought, wow, I also haven't been able to make a song in years. And I did this all in a day, in an evening, actually. And so that made me wonder, how come it was so easy creating this song and finding the right words to say and all that? And I know a song is like 3 to 5 minutes mostly, and a novel is, 150 pages and up. So there's definitely a huge difference with like time management and all that. But still, creating anything for me has been really hard. the past few years. And I figured it out. I figured out why it was so much more easier this time making a song. It's simply because this song is about how and what I'm going through right now. It's what I haven't been able to say or express this whole time. And I basically said everything I wanted to say in a few lines, a few words, and a few clapbacks. And the way I play is haunting enough to feel the rage and the justice I've been searching for. And I learned in therapy that anger and rage are human and normal feelings. It's where you put it towards is what makes it harmful or productive or, healthy. So, yeah, I feel like I'm finally using my art as a healing tool rather than something that is just to get finished. Like, it's more than that for me. I'm tuning in, I'm alchemizing, I'm using my art as art therapy rather than just a product. And I'm daring to use it by following what's true in the present, not in the past. And now, going back to my novel, I think it started to feel harder to do it because when I made this story up, it came from a version of myself that probably needed to write it to survive something or feel seen or understood. It was a time where I needed to release pain, but I think what made me feel like such a failure is honestly the culture of needing to finish things to be successful, which is honestly more of a productive mindset. It's not really an artistic one. I think true art is real, it's soul deep, messy, and most importantly, alive. And I feel like this story that I was trying to make is not something so alive inside me anymore. It's kind of like old medicine. And I'll explain that more further later on. Following what's true in the present and not dragging around the ghosts of old ideas just to say you finished something. The only thing I owe my creativity is honesty, not completion. Now, I know what other thoughts could come up with this. Well, that sounds like you're quitting. No, I'm not actually. I'm letting it go as a novel that I was going to write. And that's me maturing so I won't stay stuck in a loop of feeling sorry for myself. Artists outgrow their early work all of the time. And I don't see that as a failure, but more of a transformation. Because if I sit here and I force myself to finish this novel just to say I completed it, for me at least, it kind of kills my creative momentum, like I almost did. I was already starting to feel like, oh my God, this is just too much. What am I doing? I'm not even an artist. I can't do this. A lot of shame starts to come up, a lot of ideas, thoughts in your head about just feeling like you can't finish something because, society or culture, work culture just makes artists feel like, well, you have to finish this, and it's like, no, that's not what art is about. That's not what creativity is about. Creativity is kind of sensitive and it's very fleeting and it's not always reliable. So sometimes you have to do things right then and there. Maybe I should have done this novel years ago when it was full of momentum, but for circumstances beyond my control, I just could not. However, coming back now, instead of trying to complete it as a novel, I decided I'm going to mine it instead. I'm going to turn it into a poem instead, or perhaps a playwright, or a visual experience, something else, you know? Like, I don't want to, and I don't feel like I need to let it go entirely into the black hole of abyss, and so I won't, but I just won't make it a novel anymore. I want it to live, either through the main character or the feeling of the novel itself, something different. I just can't really sit down and make it in its original form anymore, and that's okay. I'm okay with that. I'm okay to let it go not being a novel anymore, but into something else instead. And that's my business. And honestly, that is growth for me, because back then, I would just throw out a lot of my ideas into the black hole of abyss, and because I didn't think I could get them done in the form I wanted it to be, out of shame, once again, pity, and all that. But maturing now and all, I realize I don't have to do that. You know? Who knows? Maybe I'll make it into multiple forms. Maybe I'll make it into a little story for Halloween this year instead, and make it more of an audio scary story on my podcast. You know, that's a strong possibility, quote unquote. So yeah, but a novel just won't be one of them. And once again, I'm totally okay with that. And after I finally let that go, I just felt so much more at ease to tackle this story in a different way, without shame, without feeling like a failure. And yeah, it's my story, it's my brain, and I will always choose the harmonious route as a fellow Venus angel. I mean, just as a regular person. I just like to pizzazz things on the podcast. My advice for any artist who's taken some time away from their art is that you don't have to prove anything to be an artist. You just have to show up honestly. Period. And the rest will come. I can accumulate a lot of emotions from all 5 spectrums. I just made that number up, by the way. And holding it in is not good for me. I'm not me when I keep it all in. So doing this is my creative art therapy. And I'm so glad I'm focusing on what hurts now, not what hurt then. Because not that I fully healed about what happened in my life back then with this story. You know, healing is a journey, but it doesn't sting as much anymore. It doesn't hit as hard anymore. And I think this is what's come up for me this Cancer season. Art and play, like I mentioned in my last episode, but also finding new medicine. Back to the medicine bit. Being sick emotionally and finding new medicine. It's kind of crazy. Like if I'm sick again, drinking old medicine or going back to old art pieces is like taking expired Advil. It's not gonna help as much, if at all. I need new medicine so it can really give me the juice I need. I've also noticed a lot of people have gotten sick this season, including myself, like I mentioned before. So I hope everyone is recovering smoothly or as soon as possible to enjoy the rest of the summer, because I am finally feeling ready to indulge the summer. It took me like a month to get into it, but yeah, artistically, I'm here. Now that I finally let go and realize I really can alchemize things, damn, I just feel so free, like a bird, like a true Libra that I am, you know? And I'm also a Cancer rising, so my element in this season is like finally picking up a notch. And yeah, I have a lot of water in my charts too, so I think I'm starting to feel refreshed and seeing things just so much more clearly, and I'm just feel like I can let go of things so much better too. I love it. I want more. And I just feel so much more at ease having this realization. So, I hope to all the witchy artists and artsy angels out there found some insight in this episode. Comment down below if you agree or want to share a little of your own story of how to move through getting back into a creative space. And I think that is all I have for you, angels. Have a happy new moon next week, a lovely summer ween, and wear your sunscreen. My name is Johana, also go by August, and this is Venus Cove, signing off. Until next time, Venus Angels.